Hi class, this is Professor Collins with part 2 of the chapter 1 screencast lecture. I wanted to focus the second part of the chapter 1 lecture on the concept of media convergence. You can find this in chapter 1 of your textbook on page 9. If you look in the chapter, you will actually see two definitions for media convergence. You need to be familiar with both definitions. The first definition says that media convergence is a bringing together of different media, all covering the same story. Okay? Traditionally, if you look back in the beginnings of mass media, you only really had one form that may have been covering a story or telling a story, okay, which was probably going to be newspapers or a magazine. Today, though, we have so many different forms of media that are available to us. And so in this meaning, media convergence means that we're taking all these different forms of mass media to tell a story. So let's look at the NBA All-Star game. Let's say we're going to look at coverage of the NBA All-Star. Okay? So, first of all, we have the web, internet. That's one way in which the story is being told. I'm looking right now, this is the ESPN website. And you'll see here that, yes, they're covering the story online. Okay? Then they also have down here, they have some things that were, I believe this is an audio file that we're clicking on, or maybe not. My slow laptop is at work again. Okay, here we go. Okay. So this is actually a video that's going to summarize. I believe this is probably something that appeared on ESPN, and then they are putting it up on their website. And of course, we can't really get. Okay. Once we get past the commercial, you'll also see over here that there's a listing of things being covered on radio, on cable. There's also, of course, links to online stories and online videos over here. Okay?
The NBA All-Star reserves are released on their page within ESPN headlines. Let's welcome in NBA insider Amin El-Hassan. Amin, what do you think about the East All-Stars?
It was pretty much relaxed.
Okay. So basically what we're seeing here is what they call a podcast, meaning that they have taken what was really television content and basically packaged it and put it online so that you can go back and look at whatever was on TV later. That's known as a podcast, and you can actually subscribe to different people's podcasts, okay? So that's just one way, and ESPN is one company. We also have the newspapers that are covering the NBA All-Star Game, okay? So here, that's the NBA. Now, this is the NBA League's website, okay? So that's just showing you another way that the NBA All-Star Game is being covered. And then here, if I can click over there, we actually, if you look here, you can see a listing of different stories. You also have newspapers that are doing stories on the NBA All-Star Game. You have radio stations that are doing stories on the NBA All-Star Game. So all of these different forms of mass media are coming together to cover the one story. That's one definition of media convergence. Different forms of mass media coming together to report on or cover one story. The other definition of media convergence, let's go back to ESPN for a minute, okay? Because here's an example of media convergence in a different definition. This other definition of media convergence is that one company is expanding its ability to transmit information. It's a certain business model in which a company consolidates different holdings under one corporate umbrella. So let's look at ESPN for a minute. ESPN, of course, as we know, was originally started what? On cable. Then ESPN expanded, and you have ESPN Radio. Now you also have ESPN Magazine. Okay? So when we're looking at ESPN, it's really a great example of media convergence. This is one, it has, look, ESPN USA, it has the Spanish language version, it has different websites for different cities. There's ESPN Radio, it has a fantasy league, all right, and then there's the print ESPN magazine. So all of these different ways and services are all under one corporate umbrella. And if you want to think on an even bigger scale, ESPN is actually owned by Disney. Okay? So if you want to look at Disney Holdings, let's just do a search for a minute. Disney Holdings actually includes ESPN. Of course, it includes Disney. Okay, it's a media giant. It also includes ABC television. Okay, that's why I sort of laugh sometimes when people say like, "Oh, I'm gonna, stop having anything to do with XYZ station, or I'm not going to do anything with ABC or with Disney." Look at all the holdings that the Walt Disney Company includes. Okay, has all these different groups. So Disney actually, it's the third largest global media conglomerate. It owns ABC, ABC News, the Oscars, Disney, Family Channel, NFL.com, NBA.com, NASCAR.com, SoccerNet.com. Look at all these different companies. Then you have movies, Miramax, Buena Vista, Touchstone, Hollywood Pictures, of course, Disney Pictures. Over here, it has music holdings. Down here, if you look, here are the other broadcasting partners. The History Channel, A&E, Lifetime, the E Channel, magazines, books, daily newspapers, and of course the theme parks, any sports teams, okay? And then the theatricals that are on Broadway. That is a huge example of media convergence. This is one company that has all these different holdings. So there you have the two different meanings of media convergence. In the one definition, it's taking one story and having it being told by many different forms of mass communications. The other definition of media convergence is one company that has multiple forms and holdings by which it transmits information. Okay? So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit better about the concept of media convergence.